Welcome back, and it's fun to be back at the Business Transition Roadmap. Our podcast today is a podcast that is going to be focused on what most transition plans miss, and what most transition plans miss, and I guess why it matters also. So when I wrote the book called It's a Journey, and it's been quite a few years ago now, probably close to 5 or so, when that book got written, we really focused on the emotional side of it and the human side of it. So one of the themes in that book is a people first concept. And the reason why we did that was because in my experience over the years, I actually taught a boot camp for a company that was teaching advisors how to do transition roadmaps, and they called them exit plans at the time, which I'm not a big fan of a plan because plans change. And I don't know why, just that word doesn't fit with me. And then the word exit. At some point, yes, at some point you're going to exit, but you're probably going to have a lot of exits. You're going to have, you're going to exit taking care of certain tasks, and you're going to maybe exit a role, and maybe someday you'll exit part of your equity, and then you're probably going to exit for the rest of it at some point in time. So you're going to have so many exits that thinking of it in a journey format, I think, is much more realistic than thinking of it in an exit. It also gives you some time to figure things out, and it's not quite as frightening. So we found that a lot more people they like to engage in the idea of doing a roadmap, something that they can move through. So back many years ago when I was teaching that boot camp and the advisors were all learning about how to do exit planning, what I found is people were starting with the how and the how much. So thinking about, gosh, how much money could I get out of this business or for this business? And will it be enough? That was another question. And then how do I do it? Like, what's the structure? What's the strategy? What's the estate plan? Am I putting it into a trust? Is it going to, once I get the money, who's going to manage it? Is it going to go into, public equities or private equities and all of these different things? And those are all important without any question. But most transition plans that are done still today, what I think they're missing the most is the people side of it. I think they're missing the people side of it because they're so focused on this idea of the function side of it. The people side of it also, it includes you. So if you're the owner and you're the one who's going to be the transitioner, we'll start with the first one. I think that knowing your next adventure and actually envisioning it, I think that is one thing that most transition plans miss. Trying to figure out what's next for you. I just literally got off of a meeting probably 30 minutes ago with a wonderful man. He's transitioned 3 different companies over the last years. And what's next? So he successfully has done that. He's successfully built them and transitioned them. Still, after 3 businesses, doesn't know what's next. And because of that, what happens is entrepreneurs tend to get out of their business, they get unhappy, and they don't really have that next adventure in mind. And so what they'll do is they'll go start another business, and they start it many, many times from scratch. Sometimes they'll go buy one, but many times they'll start it from scratch. And we all know, if you're an entrepreneur and have done that, we all know how hard that is to do. There's a lot of work in that. So why does it matter? If you're focused solely on this transition and you're not seeing what you're moving towards, likely you have the opportunity of leaving and being unhappy. If it is and happens to be a family transition, you have the high likelihood of thinking you're leaving and also hanging on. Why? Because you don't have anything else to move towards. So, in order to have human beings be happy, we want to be fulfilled. And in order to be fulfilled, we need to have something that's fun for us to do, something that makes us happy. So, one thing that most transition plans missed, it's envisioning your next adventure and taking some time to do that. Thinking about putting people first, right? In that same theme and that same line, developing your successor with intention. A successor has one of the highest learning curves of anybody going through this transition. If you're the transitioner, yeah, you have to go figure out your next adventure, but many people will think that that's pretty luxurious, that you're going to have time on your hands and hopefully you're going to have enough money to do some fun things. So you're going to end up like, hey, what's your problem? You have time and you have some money, so you should be happy. That may or may not be true. When you think about developing your successor, they're coming into your role. You've been in that role and you understand, even with all of your knowledge and all of your wisdom and all of your years of experience, you still know how challenging it is to be in that role. So when you think of developing your successor with intention, that is something that transition plans tend to miss, is how does this person actually go through and get the knowledge and the skills and the experience and the intuition and all of the things that they need to work through and successfully take this business forward. So things to consider as you develop this, what we call a transition roadmap, where you can start from today and you can develop people and figure out your next adventure, but also develop your successor with intention. In that plan, in that strategy, you can have clear milestones. So clear milestones that a successor can commit to achieving, and you can commit to both teaching and training and mentoring, but also you can commit to letting go. So those important conversations can happen and they can be a part of the transition strategy. Oh gosh, the other thing that transition plans sometimes miss is just honoring emotional journeys. You can see that I'm probably laughing inside and kind of smiling, because the emotional journey is big, and the emotional journey is big for everybody. So being able to honor that is something that, when you think about a transition strategy or a transition plan, a lot of them, again, are back to the function, the taxes, the structure, the legal documents, who can and can't be a partner or who can and can't be a shareholder. It's back to all of the function, the money, and again, how you're going to invest it, et cetera. So this honoring the emotional journey is tough, especially if you're the leader. If you're the leader and you're the transitioner, many times you're kind of tired, because doing this transition journey is, don't forget, on top of your normal job. Unless you've already started to work your way out, your successors already come in and taken over some of your things, and taken those off of your plate. You're doing this transition on top of your regular job, which can be amazingly challenging, because I don't know very many entrepreneurs who have a part-time job. Most of them have full-time jobs building and growing their companies. And then sometimes it's full-time plus. So when you think about the emotional journey that you're going through, don't forget about everybody else's. So the successor, probably, if you put yourself in their shoes, what are they feeling? They could be feeling unsure. They could be feeling inadequate. They could be feeling like it's challenging to have respect of others because you you have respect of others first, and they're trying to earn that. Your spouse, that's an emotional journey for them, because you being around, you're going to have a shift and a change. And so if you're close as a spouse, right, you have a great marriage, many times your shift obviously influences their life. And so that causes a shift in their lives too. So what kind of a shift? Are they excited about that shift? Will there be some bumps in the road? Yes. And as those happen, how do you make room for that? How do you honor that emotional journey? So you want to make space for those conversations, and also take the time to notice, and also invite people to come and talk to you if they're curious. I love the curiosity. We'd rather have curiosity and talk about that than have conclusions that people are running around with that they might be true, but many, many times they're not true. They're just conclusions that people have thought about and made. So we want to have conversations about hopes and fears, and also things that people are avoiding, because it's great to walk down this road, but we also know that people will be avoiding things, and bringing those out in the open is important. When you go through a transition, and you're building out your plan, and what most people or most plans will miss, is alignment. So as a transitioner, many times, because you've been that leader and because you've been the one who has had all the weight on your shoulders, and don't forget, you've also been that decision maker all the way down the road. So the decision maker from start to finish, people come to you. So it's likely, because of your learned behavior, it's likely that one, you'll take this whole transition planning process on yourself. And the other thing that is very likely is you'll try to create a plan or a strategy that has many, if not all, the answers. The thing that people miss is that in a transition strategy, you can't do it by yourself. You have to have other people who actually want to come in, who actually can't wait to come in. They want to come in so bad that in a way they're willing to push you out, which is super uncomfortable as the owner. You don't want to be pushed out. That's a very poor feeling. So what gets missed is the alignment of the multiple objectives, not just your objectives, but other people's objectives. And what's hard about that one in transition strategies is if you're focused on, the how and the how much, the money, the function, again, trust, and all of the moving parts, the taxes and all of that. If you're focused on all of that, those are your objectives, and you miss the people objectives. Why do people miss the people objectives? And why is that so common? The reason why is because they're hard to figure out. The only way you figure out other people's objectives is by asking them what their objectives are. You can assume that you know what their objectives are, like, oh, yes, they'd love to have the business. They want to own 100%. They want majority interest. They're happy. Like, one of the objectives we hear all the time is, oh, yes, of course, our kids will be happy each owning an equal amount of the company. That's a parent's objective potentially, but it might not be the kids' objectives, and they may disagree. So the alignment of multiple objectives, how do you figure out somebody else's objectives? It's hard. Over the years, it took us in our company probably about 5 years to master this thing that we call the objectives matrix. It looks super simple and easy to use on the outside, and it is great. It really works. So just sharing that with you, because there's an invitation from us. One, you can come in and we have this great new program called Evolve, where you get to do an immersion program, and you get to come in, and in 3 days, you build out your strategy. It's a 3-day immersion program, and Evolve, you get to immerse. The immersion program is a part of Evolve, and then you get some coaching and some other things that go after that to make sure that you're going to get off the ground really nicely and very well. But our objectives matrix is a part of that. The other place you can find that is in our book. So the book is called It's a Journey. We want to share these tools with you because we want to encourage you to build out a transition roadmap that not only takes the how and how much into consideration, but also gets the people side, also gets all of that, because that's what'll create a great, successful, strategic transition strategy for you. It'll make it work. So alignment of objectives, hard to find. So what you need to do, you got to consider and understand what matters most to other people. And those conversations are deep. It's not like, hey, do you want to go for a walk in the park today? It's not that. It's, how do you want to live the rest of your life? What's important to you in the rest of your life? What do you want to accomplish? What are your dreams? What do you want for your family? What do you want personally for you? What's your next adventure coming into this business? Is this the right place for you? These are deep conversations. Health, well-being, where they want to live. It's big. So those multiple objectives, personal objectives, and also company business objectives create alignment. So that would be another one that many, many plans miss. So have you considered, what success looks like for you? Very important, because that goes back up to the first one we talked about today, which is envisioning your next adventure. Those are part of your objectives. And it also considers other people's. You can include as many people as you'd like: spouses, kids, adult children, employees, partners. All those people have objectives, and they all would like to see something in your transition. Now, you can't take care of everybody. And in our work, nobody has ever gotten all their objectives. Not everybody gets everything they want, but it certainly is easy to solve a problem when you know what the puzzle pieces are. And sometimes it can be put together so simply just because you know one piece that you might have not thought about if you had gone down and just gone for the how and how much. Oh gosh. I guess one of the other ones, and I'll kind of wrap up with this one. This one can be a part of your strategy or not a part of the initial strategy, because as an owner, typically in these private businesses, it's a very small number of people who are in the what we would call governance area. And governance it's key, and owners, especially single owners, private owners that don't have partners involved in the business, they typically are everything. They're the CEO, they are the chairman of the board, they're the owner investor, they make all the decisions, and that is their structure. So people will come in and go, oh, well, I don't have a governance structure. And I'm like, yes, you actually do have a governance structure. And your governance structure is all tied up into one person, and it's you. And you can hold your board meetings whenever you want and your owner meetings whenever you want, because you make all of your own choices. But that is your governance structure. So when you think of the evolution that a business goes through, sometimes the governance gets missed. And personally, I think that this is a big deal, because the statistics for businesses going forward well, it's low. I just heard a recent statistic, and it's like, gosh, they said that only 10% of businesses, I think, survive 10 years. So if your business and you as an owner have been around for more than 10 years or close to 10 years, and you have a company that somebody would be interested in continuing forward, that's a big accomplishment. And you've had a great governance structure to get as far as you have gotten. What we believe is that business owners tend to leave too soon, and that's why those businesses fail. We've got a very high rate of success over the years that we've been doing this. We've been doing this for almost 30 years now, or I have. And the companies that we work with continue forward with the next generation running them. We have such a high rate that in our research that we did and all of the stats, 100% of the business owners that we've worked with, their businesses are still together. They're still working. And that's incredible. We've broken the record by far, blown it out of the water. So clear governance, thinking about how will decisions be made in this company? How will they be made going forward? And there's a huge shift in the thinking here, because these clear governance structures, when you're everything, when you're the job CEO making decisions, you're the board making decisions, and you're the owner making decisions, and they're all blended together, you don't see that there are decision levels. So in doing the governance structure, one of the first things that we do in this Evolve program is start to talk a little bit about what we call decision levels. Because decision levels, you can set decision levels for your CEO level, you can set decision levels for your chairman of the board level, and you can set decision levels that have to be made at the owner level and the investor level. By doing that, by having those three levels and seeing which ones go where, and also reflecting on how you've done it, because you actually don't know how you've done it all these years, then what you're able to do is, as you transition over time, it's sort of like an accelerator and a brake. You might keep many decisions at the board level and not let the CEO level have big decisions. So, and that might be year 1, year 2. Then you can, as they get better, give them some more. So the CEO or that C-level team starts to make bigger decisions, and some of the pressure comes off the board for decision making. Typically, your owners and those investors are just making decisions about big things like the company staying in business or being sold, and those kinds of things. So creating clear governance structures is important. It does not have to be in your original strategy. And it is a training ground, a great training ground for your successor. So as you develop your successor or successors with intention, using governance and having different structure can be very helpful. It also helps you to honor the emotional journey, because you don't let go too soon. You have, I'll call them, less train wrecks along the way, because you can have small train wrecks and big ones, but you have less little accidents along the way, or train wrecks, and you're able to just create what we would call harmony in the work that you do. So you can create and leave a legacy, and you can also do it with harmony and help people to, you honor that emotional journey, which is how they gain confidence, they gain clarity, and they gain the stability to be able to do this big job that you're asking them to do. You also can have the emotional awareness that when's the right time to let go. Really think about it as, and use time to help yourself. Time does a lot of good things, and it helps you to hit these items that usually get missed. The event is the exit of the business asset, right? You're going to transition that equity. The other work that you're going to do in preparation from that gives people the time to come together, to align their objectives, to figure out how they're going to govern this thing, to honor their emotional journey, to develop their successors, and to grow and to explore a next adventure. So as you do that, my wish for you is to be able to embrace it early, and use time to your advantage. So if you're planning to transition in like the next 2 to 10 years, what our invitation is to you is to download this free guide that we put together for you. And it's called 5 Parts of a Succession Plan CPAs and attorneys often miss. So 5 parts of a succession plan that advisors often miss. And this is kind of a shortcut to a stronger, smoother plan for you. You can take this and you can work with your CPAs and attorneys so that they can include this in their strategy. And transitionstrategist.com/plan is where you can find that. It's just a great guide. And again, we'd love for you to use it because our goal for you is to have a successful transition, one where your relationships are whole, you're on your great next adventure, the governance is working, the business is thriving forward, and people are confident in what they're doing. So good luck, and I will see you next time.